So some of you know that in the beginning of the satsang, when I start to talk with you, I often talk about something which is rising. Sometimes it comes from deep within. Sometimes it comes from conversations I've had with someone. At the moment, there is a profound emptiness. So if I'm going to talk, I need you to inspire me. So I invite you to bring your doubts, your fears, your difficulties with your sadhana, or inspiration, whatever is here with you at this moment. Our sadhana is always about what is here in this moment. If you move deeply into the inquiry is always about what is here, and the who is experiencing what is here.
So why don't you speak about that emptiness?
I speak about that emptiness a lot.
It's nice to hear.
But it is hard to talk about that emptiness, isn't it? You've had this emptiness yourself?
Not more than anybody else.
Yeah. So how can you speak about the nothing which is here?
Yeah, then it's gone.
To name it, it's gone. Yes. Not a bad thing. Just something different.
The reflection is also beautiful.
Yeah, of course. Good to remember that it is also emptiness which is speaking. In this moment of naked, empty awareness, something is moving. If it's not named, no label is given to it, then it remains as that emptiness, even as it speaks.
This emptiness, how do we relate to feeling, like the feeling of the eyes that are there when you sleep? Like because somehow this I emerged in daily practice. But coming here with the mountain was just emptiness.
There's what?
Just emptiness.
Yes.
So how do they relate?
Ah, that was the question I was going to ask you. Do they? What do you see about it? Do they relate?
Somehow it's like they are the same, but the recollection, the memory of the I and the sleep is not the same. If that makes sense. I have a hard time to make it have sense. I don't try.
Good. So is the nature of emptiness the perception of nothing?
It's not a thing, it's not something, it's not nothing. It's definitely profound. In some way I can't tell, but
So then what is it that's struggling to understand it?
kind of a habit, having a grasp of everything.
Yes, this desire for understanding. This is coming from the mind, is it not? Yeah. It's coming from the mind, it's coming from a lifetime of this kind of search. Lifetimes maybe for this kind of search. So this mind that you recognize is there is trying to make a concept out of emptiness. Or it is perceiving that emptiness is a concept which it can understand. And once it understands it, something miraculous will happen.
It's more the experience of not knowing what the I is thinking. This I that emerged, this experience that emerged in.
Do you know that you exist? Do you know that as a singular I? As an object you can look at?
No.
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 So this is a fool's errand you're on.
Yep. It's the experience of the corona, this the way that Ramana talks about I and the sleep, and somehow it emerged as the way my mind stopped in my waking.
Yes. But what he's pointing at when he talks about this I which is present in the sleep is an I which is there without perception. Correct?
Yeah.
So the pointer is that this emptiness, this I-ness, which is naked and doesn't require the mind or any sense of personhood in order to experience it or to intuit it, maybe is the more accurate way of putting it. This I cannot be named, it cannot be pointed at. We say I because this is the natural recognition that every single being has. I exist, right? But even before I, awareness is there. Awareness does not need me, does not need mine, does not need I. So as long as we are still in this thief trying to catch a thief mode, we are using the mind to try to understand what is inherently here cannot be seen. So, what Bhagavan said about that is don't use the mind on that errand. Rather, come to the place where there's a full and complete intuition of naked awareness. I exist. This is how he said, come to this place. Understand that if I say to you, do you exist? You say, yes. There's not any doubt in your mind. In that moment. The doubt comes afterwards when the mind steps in and tries to say, prove it to me. But your existence doesn't depend upon you proving anything to the mind. You know that before the mind rises, right? You simply know, I say to you, do you exist? You say yes. Quickly, right away. No one ever says no, I don't exist. So this is known intuitively. It's not known as an object. It's not an object which can be known by a subject. This is why it can't be known by the mind. Because for the mind to be able to understand, to know, to comprehend something, it must stand back from it in this position of the subject, and it must treat it as an object, and then it can engage in that dialogue, working toward understanding. Well, this is fine if you're working on how do I build a wall. You know, this strategy works fine. How do I, this body, build this wall? Step A, step B, step C. But naked awareness is not like that. So no object is possible, no subject is possible. And that's why it said it's a thief trying to catch a thief. Or I've said it's a fool's errand. You can spend eternity in this game. The question is, who is trying to spend eternity in this game? If you understand that that one doesn't exist, then it becomes possible to just rest in the intuition, I exist. Another form of emptiness, naked awareness, call it what you will. To rest there, happily, and put down this whole search. And to just keep doing that. So have you done that now? Are you here as that empty awareness? Or are you here listening to a lecture?
Both in some way, because the empty awareness is here. And there's also a nagging voice insisting on, but you didn't understand me. Somehow.
Yes.
And
So there is the perception in that case that there are two of you, is that right? The one who is here in this silent recognition, I am, and the nagging voice that's doing something over here. There's maybe not two of you, but there's a split of some sort.
Yeah, a split or more like, I know this nagging voice is coming and going. And if I have many, I of course have a lot of experience identifying with it, but it's not happening like that as much.
Very good. Then keep going, because this is the way. As you keep identifying with that which is simply here as naked awareness, not as knowledge, right? Not as the seeker, right? The more that coming and going will be seen as unreliable.
Sure.
The more it's seen as unreliable, it can also be seen as the way in which you fail, you being the personality, the mind, fails to remain as the self. Through this veiling quality of the mind, understand, this is not a problem, this is just a characteristic of an untrained mind, or a mind which doesn't perceive the truth. You see? So, if you know that, then you're happy to keep failing over and over with the mind as it tries to understand. You keep seeking, and so on, because you know that the underlying naked perception is that it doesn't exist. And eventually, it wears itself out. So just remain as you are, as this naked awareness, as you are now. And when you say, yes, I am aware of both, fine, but don't give them equal weight. Understand that one is the deceptive quality or the veiling quality of mind in samsara. Right? This is fueled by samskara, this is fueled by the past. Okay? Well, so choose the other option if you're being offered two options. To know that I am this still, silent presence. And over here in this corner of this still, silent presence, or this open heart, you can say, in the presence of this open heart, there is this, the less attention you give to that, the smaller it gets. Or, the more you open the heart in the recognition of naked presence, naked awareness, naked consciousness, the smaller that little point becomes. You don't need to do anything about it. Just keep opening the heart. Keep opening the recognition. You are the self. Yes? Because if you understand that you are the self, you can sit there with both the recognition of the self and the recognition of this little voice over here. It's not until you grab that little voice and bring it here that it has value. Then it doesn't have any value either, but it seems to have reality. So when you see that going through in those waves, when they come to the low point in the wave, just let them be. Don't engage in them. If they come to a high point, also don't engage. You can acknowledge it's here. You see, we're not in denial. So you can acknowledge this is here. Here is this critical voice. Here is this voice that wants the knowledge, wants to understand, wants to seek something, wants to get something. All of that can be acknowledged and not identified with. It's just happening in the space of consciousness, in the space of this, that which cannot be named. Remain happily as that. The way to emptiness through inquiry is this recognition that everything that is on the screen of awareness is passing. That what is passing is rising and falling in the vast space of the open, aware heart. The more you contemplate this recognition, that there is nothing here but space, but love, you can call it, presence. The more you contemplate this, the more you realize this, the more it becomes possible to understand that all of that emptiness, all of that space, all of that love, all of that open-heartedness contains all of this. So now what is there that you need to avoid? Or you need to be fearful of? Or you need to control or manipulate in some way? You see, you don't need that. That's all the fascination of having at one time imagined a personality. And then there's a need to reinforce that personality, defend that personality. Succeed with that personality. Not be embarrassed by that personality. But once you realize that mind, body, world, emotions, experiences are all rising in the empty space of this awareness, which is naked and here now, not somewhere in the future, but here now. And you come to this contemplation anytime that's forgotten. So circumstances may come in which you forget, some habit from the past, some tendency from the past, some experience you're having. Can cause you to momentarily step out of the recognition that all of this is rising in the open heart, in the empty space of awareness. And when that happens, it takes the form of you believing that there is an identity that's happening here. So I am this, I am that, I'm doing this, I'm saying that. I wish I hadn't said that, I wish I hadn't done this. I should have said that, I should have said that, I should have done that. All of that is going on, but that's all in support of a personality, of a frame of reference, the I am the body frame of reference, that holds no truth. If you really examine it through the inquiry, through the question, who or what is being referred to here when I say I, or when I rises in the mind. By asking this question, you come to see that there is no basis in reality. It's just a story that the mind is telling. And you become, over time, more and more willing to put down whatever the personal story is in favor of the question, who or what am I? And then, without warning, maybe only for a moment, maybe forever, you find yourself in this space and realize everything that I am seeing, everything that can be seen, is a dream. And just like dreaming in the sleep state, when I wake up from the dream into the waking state, I know immediately that was a dream. The inquiry has the same effect. When you wake up in the waking state, the recognition is, all this time I've been dreaming. Now I am awake. I thought I was awake before simply because I woke up from the sleep state. Now I see I am awake. Before I was dreaming, and it felt so real. Afterwards, there is its suchness, which is real, the suchness of being here now. In Zen, can be said suchness. I've heard this Zen statement, that the experience of enlightenment is the recognition of the suchness of all. This is another attempt to define what can't be defined, or to point toward what can't be pointed toward. But what it's really saying is, there is no identity in whatever is happening in your experience. So the experience is just in some way going on its own. And there is a conscious awareness of it. I think it was Rupert Spira who said something like, someone asked him, why do we have this consciousness at all? And his simple reply was, this is how God experiences all. This begs the question, this is how God, or the self, or the Supreme experiences itself, or knows itself in some way, then what do you as a personality have to do with that? You see, that knowing is already complete. It doesn't need you. So now, every time this you steps into this identified consciousness, you challenge it. Who or what is this I? That is taking the shape of a you, a me, a life, a person, and then treating that as though that is somehow real. That to solve the problem of me is necessary. There is no problem when there is no me. The task of the sadhak is always to be present with what is here, without reaction, or rather without identity in it. This is not a license to behave badly. This is a recommendation to come toward the kind of stillness and quiet where everything is seen to be perfect. Grasping and clinging are unimportant anymore. Being, consciousness, is the continuous recognition. Satsang.